Today I'm going to be answering the question that's on a lot of readers' minds. Do self-help books actually work? No. Except when they do. So sometimes, but not usually. Hi, I'm Savvy, and in this video I'm going to take you guys through some of the best and some of the worst self-help books that I've read. Now we all know what the worst self-help book I ever read is. Sing it with me, everyone. Girl!
Wash your ass, you got to wash your ass, you got to wash your ass, wash your ass.
But this isn't the only self-help book that I've been disappointed in. Now, you may ask, Savvy, if you are so often disappointed in self-help books, why do you continue to read them? Because I'm not disappointed in every self-help book. In fact, a lot of self-help books I've found so ridiculously useful that it's almost worth getting through those awful ones to find those diamonds in the rough. Fortunately, as I have learned, we have a booktube where we can recommend things to each other and we don't have to search through all the books we hate in order to find the ones we like. But I'm probably gonna do it anyway because I hate myself. So I don't need to go too deep into why I hate Girl Wash Your Face so much. I have an entire 14.5-minute review I did about my problems with this book. Another book I read that was equally as disappointing as Girl Wash Your Face is Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. It's by the COO of Facebook. And basically, I read this book after hearing all of this praise about it on Goodreads, after seeing so many people be like, this book changed my life, this book is so empowering to women, and I was like, this book is empowering to straight, white, married women with kids who are in corporate careers and on a track to raise up the corporate ladder in very specific corporate business-oriented situations. It's not inspirational to entrepreneurial women, or women who don't have kids, or women who don't want kids, or most women. Basically, this book reminded me a lot of Girl Wash Your Face in a few ways because Sheryl Sandberg is someone who's out of touch but doesn't realize she's out of touch, and that's kind of how she comes across. Plus, this book also made me feel really alienated, like it made me feel like I wasn't a woman, which is false. I am most definitely a woman. But the way she talked about women in general, it made me feel like I was the smart girl that no one wanted to take to prom. That's an actual line from the book. Sheryl says, "Who wants to take the smart girl to prom?" I was like, you fucking kidding me? I'd love to take the smart girl to prom. Not anymore because I'm way too old for prom. That'd be creepy. The basic premise of this book is one that I agree with. It's that women historically have not had the same corporate and employment opportunities that men have had, and they've had to work twice as hard to get to the same level. It talks a little bit about employment discrimination and biases that people have based on gender in the workplace. I agree with all of that. She's done extensive research, uses a ton of studies and facts, and I appreciate all the work that she's done. But when it comes down to it, the advice is not useful. Sheryl definitely did not have the standard experience of many working women today. Sheryl went to Harvard, Sheryl went to business school, Sheryl spent a lot of time doing internships with very influential people. Sheryl was offered a position to be the CEO of LinkedIn and turned it down. You know, just standard everyday stuff. The other day I was asked if I wanted to be the CEO of Twitter. I was like, nah, I got too much other stuff going on right now. What have you guys been asked to be the CEO of before? Comment below and let me know. Just the situations that Sheryl has found herself in are not ones that most people would find themselves in. This book was also really exclusionary of women who aren't married or don't have kids or don't want kids. There's only one time in the book that she even mentions women who don't have kids, and the context that it's in completely negates her even saying it. But way too much of this book is focused on being a mom. It's like, how do I balance being a mom and having a job? That's a great topic for people who are struggling with that, because I know that being a working mom is not easy, but this book, like, I'm not a working mom, so a lot of the parts of this book I just felt like I was supposed to skip. The one time Sheryl mentions women without children, she's talking about when she was with this whole group of women at work and only one of them didn't have a child. And when other people at work were always expecting her to stay late and do things and expecting her to pick up the slack because she didn't have a child to go home to, one day she was like, but guys, if I never get to go home and enjoy my life, how am I ever going to meet anyone to have a kid in the future? And it's like, that's true, but also not putting all your work on women who don't have kids is not just so that they can have kids in the future. It's because that's not fair to them. Like, it's like whoever doesn't have kids, it's for their own reasons, and it's not fair to just put extra work on them. Anyway, I thought she handled that pretty poorly. This is kind of unrelated to all my other complaints with this, but there were all these parts where she kept talking about Mark Zuckerberg like he's the most like empathetic, human, sweet guy in the world, and I was like, bitch. She's like Mark Zuckerberg's right-hand person. She's like the second in line to him. She's like, she does this chapter on why it's okay to show emotion at work, which I agree, emotions are good, we should be honest. But then she's talking about how something bad happened and she was crying at work, and Mark Zuckerberg like came in and let her cry on his shoulder and gave her a hug, and I was like, no, he did not. Mark Zuckerberg does not feel human emotions to that level. Mark Zuckerberg, if you are watching this video, I feel pretty famous right now, but I am the CEO of Twitter, so. The other problem I had with Lean In is that it just made all these assumptions about how women feel about things, and I had never experienced any of these feelings, so it made me feel like I was like somehow separate from the female community, which is super alienating and awkward to feel. Like, for example, Sheryl talks about how women are just naturally less comfortable with bragging about their accomplishments, and I was like, they are? She tells the story about how when she was in business school, there were 7 people that won an award. 6 of them were men and she was the other one. And all 6 of the men were immediately like telling everybody about it, and no one knew who the 7th person was. And those 6 men got like treated so much better in their business class because everyone knew they won the award. But she just didn't feel comfortable telling anyone because women are encouraged not to be proud of their accomplishments. And I was like, what are you talking about? I've always been proud of my accomplishments. Like, I just couldn't even visualize the situation. Like, it didn't register with me because I was like, if I won a business award, I have won business awards before, and the second I won them, I was up on social media, I was with all my friends and family, I was like, guess what, guys? This super cool thing happened! I won an award! Let me know in the comments below if you have experienced that being a female thing, because I am a person who sometimes struggles to be aware of my surroundings, and I run into walls and things like that. So maybe I just didn't pick up on this when I should have. Maybe I just missed a major social cue somewhere. But I was kind of offended by that. Also, Sheryl was the kind of girl in college who would go to her literature class and her friend would be like, did you read all of War and Peace? And Sheryl would be like, yeah, I read all of War and Peace. And her friend would be like, I read it in the original Russian. And like they were business majors, so who the fuck cares? Another self-help book I really don't like is She Means Business by Carrie Green. When I first got Audible, I went through this phase where the only books I would listen to would be books by successful female entrepreneurs. I wanted to be inspired by them and also follow their advice. So I found this book and I was like, cool, here's a woman who started up a business and is very successful at it. Let's hear what she has to say. Girl had nothing to say. Okay, I got one thing out of this book, and that was like how to build an email list and how I should use a lead magnet, which is basically if you want people to subscribe to your blog or your website, you offer them something for free. Like if you subscribe to my blog at savvyleisure.com, I send you a free ebook that's like a workbook that I created for you. But I don't think that advice even came from her book. I think I found that advice on her blog, so I don't know if that even counts. Anyway, I found this book to be very disingenuous. There was this part where she was talking about different reasons why people might start a business, and one thing she said was, maybe you started a business because you wanted to spend time with your family. Excuse me, what? What business owner do you know that spends more time with their family? Now, sometimes as a business owner, I do get to work from home, but that doesn't mean I get to see my family more. I get to be in the same physical space as Chewy, but when he's whining for me to play with him, it just breaks my heart over and over again because I can't stop what I'm doing to play with him. When Tyler's home and I'm still working on something and he wants to do something with me, sometimes I can't because I'm not done with my work. And that's the reality of it. Even if as a business owner you can choose to work from home sometimes, that doesn't mean you're actually going to be interacting with your family more. Also, she's very vague in everything she talks about with her businesses. For example, she'll be like, I started my first business when I was an undergrad in college. I wanted to start a business where I helped people unlock their cell phones. This was like back when people needed help with that, and I had no idea how to even do that. I didn't know about technology at all, but I really believed in myself and I believed in this business and I made it happen and I made a 6-figure income. And I was like, girl, what? How? Tell me how how you started this business. How did you learn this skill? How did you, as someone who doesn't know how to do this, form a business that competed against all the other people who did know how to do it, and how did you do better? What skills did you have? What marketing techniques did you use to get people to choose you instead of somebody? What did you do? She also really likes to ask the universe for things. Carrie has this whole section about asking the universe and about visualization. Now, I'm not saying these techniques don't work, because they can, but if they do work, it's for a different reason than Carrie is letting on. For example, if you visualize yourself in a specific situation, for example, imagine you have to go to a job interview and you're really nervous about it, so you visualize the interview, you imagine yourself in that room, you really make yourself feel like you're there, and then you act out as if you'd been in the interview, and then you go to the interview the next day and you get the job. Did you get it because of visualization? Maybe. But the reason you got it because of visualization is because while visualizing it, you caused yourself to practice for the interview. You imagined the possible situations that could arise, and you figured out strategies in your mind to prepare for them. Plus, having already visualized the situation, you were able to walk in with more confidence and a more positive attitude, which probably affected your personality and outlook. So those would be reasons that worked. In Carrie's book, she makes it sound like visualization just works because of magic in the universe. She talks about how when she would visualize herself winning an award, she would win it. But she doesn't talk about what actually happened during the visualization, or like why she thinks that led to that. There's no description of like the actual steps in between. She also asks the universe for a lot of things, and she always gets the things she asks the universe for. Now, I can only imagine why this might work. For example, maybe if you ask the universe for something, you're subconsciously letting yourself know that it's something you deserve, which will then motivate you to try harder to get it, and then the extra effort you put in actually causes you to get the thing. But the simple act of asking the universe itself does nothing. Like, after you do that, if you don't follow it up with anything, the thing's not gonna happen. So basically, I think Carrie's a fucking liar. Now, onto a couple self-help books that I absolutely loved. One is Joanna Penn's full series about writing. She has this blog called The Creative Pen, and Joanna Penn is an indie author who has made tons of money with her writing and writes lots of self-help books about how authors can market their books and how they can make a full career out of it. So I've listened to her books on Audible. And when I was illustrating Just Me Wrigley, I listened to like multiple books of hers in the hours and hours and hours of making all of that art. So it was really great to hear her advice about how to basically build a marketing plan as an author, how to utilize social media, how to build partnerships, and like honestly, that was the kind of advice I was looking for, and this book was exactly, not just this book, all of her books about writing and marketing are exactly what I want them to be. The only problem I have with them is that she has this assumption that writers are introverts. And that's a little bit alienating, and it's also sometimes not useful. Like, she talks about, oh, as authors, we're all introverts, so we hate having to give presentations in public and network with other people, but we're great at the internet stuff where we don't have to see anyone else. And then, like, she'll give more advice about the part that introverts would have trouble with. And I'm like a severe extrovert, like to the point where it's not healthy. So that wasn't useful for me. I was like, no, I love giving presentations. I love networking. Networking is my favorite hobby. I want to do more of that. Tell me how to use the internet. I don't know how to use the internet. Please tell me that. So I guess in some cases there were just assumptions made about authors that made it a little bit not as much for me. But overall, those weren't the main parts of the books, so all of her books I highly recommend. Another book I recommend is The Power of Broke by Daymond John. I did a review of this book on my blog, which I will link to in the description below. I don't know if y'all know this, but I am a huge Shark Tank fan, and I think Daymond's my favorite shark. Lori's a little bit too much of a hippie for me, and she likes the alternative medicine and stuff. I'm not really into that, and Kevin's pretty mean. And everybody already has Mark as their favorite, so Daymond is my man. In this book, he basically talks about how when you don't have a lot of money, that can actually be used to your advantage as a business owner. A lot of times when a startup does have a lot of money, it's tempting to just throw money at every problem you have rather than trying to find an innovative solution to solve that. And I thought that that was really useful because at the time I got this book, I was broke and also starting my own business with Forever Home Friends, and I was like, how do I grow this? I don't have a marketing budget. Thanks, Daymond. And finally, Your Book, Your Brand. I talked about this book as one of my favorite books I'd read in 2018 in my Litmus video series. I'll link to that video in the description below as well. But if you can see how many post-it notes I put in this, and how much I highlighted in this. I was just like going crazy reading this book. This book talks all about how authors can build a brand based on their writing and how they can gain publicity. Dana Kay, the author, is a professional publicist, and this book goes through all types of publicity, from television, radio, and newspaper, and all those traditional types, to social media and the internet and all these new types of publicity that are emerging. And she really breaks it down to the wire, like what's the best time to send an email to a magazine? What's the best subject line to use? How should you structure your pitch to somebody? So this book is all about specific advice. Overall, self-help books, do they work? The main thing that they have to include is specific advice and a breakdown of steps of how you're going to get to things. So anyone out there who's planning to write a self-help book in the future, please be as specific as possible in your steps. If you need good self-help books to look for as a model, I have linked the books that I talked about today as the good ones in the description below. So please check that out. Maybe I will write a self-help book in the future. I don't know. I've criticized so many self-help books that I'm probably like opening myself up for like everyone to come at me with everything that's wrong in mine, so maybe I won't. Maybe I'll still do it anyway, I don't know. All press is good press, right? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What do you guys think of self-help books? Do you have any recommendations of some that have helped you, or do you have any recommendations of ones I should avoid that everyone else is saying are good? What do you think about self-help books? Please tell me in the comments below. I hope you guys are having a great day today. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to this channel. And if you didn't like this video, you can dislike it, because I'm all about honesty. And because dislikes count equally as engagement, and that helps my SEO and feeds the YouTube algorithm. How would I know that? I'm the CEO of Twitter. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye!